Hey everybody, on today's episode, I've got Justin with Pestshare. He's going to be talking to us about all the cool stuff they've got cooking and how they're partner sponsors for PMMCon 2023.
Welcome to the Property Management Mastermind Show with your host, Brad Larson. Brad owns one of the fastest growing property management companies in San Antonio, Texas. This podcast is for property managers by property managers. You'll hear from industry-leading professionals on best practices, new ideas, success stories, and lessons learned. This is your opportunity to learn about the latest industry buzz surrounding property management, as well as tips and strategies to improve your business.
Enterprise Bank and Trust, the bank you all formerly knew as Seacoast Commerce Bank. With the same team, the same benefits, and an expanded and improved product suite. Enterprise Bank and Trust specializes in trust accounts and business banking for property managers. One of their best features is a cash analysis program where they can assist in paying your property management related invoices. Contact Allison at 619-988-6708 to learn more.
Need a repair at 2 a.m.? Easy does it. Easy Repair coordinates maintenance and nothing else, and takes after-hour maintenance calls for property managers, working with your property management software, so you can see exactly what Easy is doing without leaving your own software. From Las Vegas, Nevada, our full-time maintenance coordinators will dispatch your work orders directly with your vendors. Give us a call at 800-488-6032 or visit our website, easyrepairhotlinellc.com.
Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the Property Management Mastermind podcast. I'm your host, Brad Larson. Now, today's guest, I'm bringing in Justin Clements. He's coming at us from Pestshare. Now, Rentworks has been using Pestshare now for going on a year plus, and it was one of those ideas that I saw at a conference. Of course, we're all at conferences. We see stuff, which is why we do the Property Management Mastermind Conference, because we all see stuff that intrigues us. And I thought of a pretty good way to actually put that into the business with Rentworks. And so I wanted to bring the Pestshare guys on because they tell me they got lots of cool new stuff to talk about. And so I'm bringing in my man Justin here. He's going to tell us all about his history, his college football history of blowing guys up on the gridiron. Yeah. And he's like laughing at me now. He's going to tell us all about that good stuff and then introduce us into the Pestshare model. We got lots of good questions to kick around. So without further ado, I want to bring on Justin. Hey, can you give us a few minutes of your time and tell us who you are?
Yeah, thanks, Brad. I appreciate bringing me on here. We've always enjoyed our relationship, and both professionally and personally. So this is great. We appreciate that.
So official thank you. Okay, an official thank you going out to you guys. You ready for this? Don't think I forgot, because I have a thank you card right here. You guys specifically sent me a pair of Kuiu pants, camouflage Kuiu pants, because I like to get out in the woods, chase things, right. And I wanted to say thank you for that official thing. That was a pretty good. I had the thank you note right here at my desk. I don't know, maids must have taken it or something. It's always never my fault, of course.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. I know.
But I want to thank you guys again for providing that to me. It was a really neat thing. So there's your official thank you. Thanks, JC.
We certainly appreciate that. Yeah, we appreciate you, and for that again, we try to extend our appreciation to all of our clients, also just all of the relationships that we've made within the industry too. So everybody's been so good to us. So giving back is just natural. So yeah.
Hugfest aside, honestly, I loved the orange shoe concept as well. Okay, so yeah. You were able to hook us up with a pair of orange tennis shoes. They're really cool looking. They're comfy.
You know what? Speaking of, I got them on today.
See, I knew you'd have those things on. And just like with some of the other folks in the industry that have done a colored clothing design, like Second Nature has the purple suits, and you guys doing the orange shoes, I think is genius, because you know what? People can wear them. They can tag photos with you. They can Instagram them. They can share them. I mean, it's just, there's nothing bad about it. So great marketing idea. I got to, compliment your wives. I'm sure they thought of it. You knuckleheads didn't think of it.
You know what?
So kudos to your wives for that one.
That's right. Every good thing comes from the people that support us. So, we just get to take credit for it. So.
Well, let's get into it. Let's talk a little bit about what you got going on with the Pestshare. So for those that have really no concept of what it is, I probably would ask you to give us a few minutes just to kind of talk us through what the business model is and how it works for property managers.
Yeah, perfect. Well, kind of broad strokes. Ultimately, Pestshare has a product ultimately called Pest Assurance, and that kind of comes into the maintenance side of property management companies, specifically where pest control is always an issue. We always kind of run around with the statistics there that 60 to 80% of households will always have a pest control issue that need to be resolved. And the interesting fact is that very rarely is that attainable through professional means with renters, with residents. And so it's really, the industry's been built around home ownership specifically. And so we've designed a tech-enabled product ultimately to where residents have the ability to request service for bed bugs, roaches, you name it, under their coverage, and it's implemented via a benefits package or a benefit program within the property management company, so it's built in their operation.
Great point. And let's talk through that, because you specifically said something that touches me as a prior salesperson and selling homes. I sold homes for a bunch of years, real estate agent, right? You got to cut your teeth somewhere. But that's pest service was always specifically built for a home owner. And so, yeah, you get the home inspected with a pest inspection. You got to meet the VA, FHA requirement. Okay, cool. That's one thing. But then any sort of monthly service plan or quarterly service plan is really meant for the homeowner and their benefit and the costs associated with it. So often it might cost $50 a month, $100 a month, $100 a quarter, whatever the number was. But then you look at it to like, okay, it's made for the homeowners because they can do a spot treatment once a quarter, once a year, whatever they decide to do. They can do that monthly service plan where they get service, once a quarter or once a month, depending on where you are. But that particular expense and that particular concept wouldn't make sense to a tenant. It just was just not financially feasible for a tenant to go say, yeah, I want to get a pest inspection of my rental home. They don't do that unless they're forced to by a lender. Mm-hmm. And they're not going to say, hey, I want to get a quarterly pest treatment. And they might, but the cost may not really benefit them. And if they figure, okay, I'm only going to be here for a couple, 3 years, why would I do that? I'm not that worried about this home having termites because I'm gone in 3 years. Right. So it's more of an owner type focus. And so we blended the implementation of this on both sides. So we took it into the tenant's perspective from that resident benefits package. We added it into there. We kind of baked it in, as they call it. So inside of our resident benefits package, it has all these different features. You got insurance flying around. You got pest treatments flying around. You got all these other cool things. I mean, it's all on our website, so it's not like we're hiding it all. And we have 10 bullet points of stuff in there, maybe 11 now. Then, in addition, we baked it into our maintenance service package. So you're going to hear a lot of talk about a owner-facing benefits package, right? So we are very familiar with the tenant side. We've been talking about this for years. We implemented something like this. It must have been 3 or 4 years ago at least, maybe 4 years ago. And it's worked out really well. And so we provide insurance. We give them all kinds of cool stuff inside the tenant side. Okay, the benefits of the owners is much more apparent. So we created a maintenance service plan, and that includes the Pestshare quarterly, on-demand quarterly type treatment. Now, here's the thing. The tenant or the owner can order those, right? And so we feel we're getting max use out of it. And so I know I'm taking your thunder away from you, explaining it, but I had to explain the implementation side of it first because the service is pretty easy. You created a network. You have some joint ventures going on with other service providers. You provided quarterly on demand. Okay, so they have to order it. We're not just going to send people out there blindly. It's an on-demand type of a quarterly service system. And you have all this different network of pest treatment providers throughout the U.S.
Right.
Now, that's kind of giving it in a nutshell. Now, you guys, you and I talked about wanting to talk about the mindset of this implementation, and I wanted to bring that up right away because as soon as I start talking about that, people are like, oh, I can't charge my tenants $1 for anything. They'll grab their pitchforks and come get me out of the office and revolt,
Exactly.
And so, we laugh at that mindset, but it's not too far from the truth. And so have you found a way to maybe advise property managers on how to best maybe get their mindset around implementing a program like this? I mean, you've been doing this for a while now, a good year or two of getting managers to implement this. What are you seeing, and what's the best practices in getting their minds wrapped around it?
Yeah. I would say, even if you back up kind of outside, I would say when it comes down to a lot of the implementation really of any product or service within a company, I think a lot of it has to do with kind of vision-based thinking, and most of that I would say for owner-operators, which I would say there's plenty of them. Small business is what kind of comprises of the majority of business in the United States, and I would say that for a lot of the owner-operators, it's hard for them to balance working on the business versus in the business and kind of the day-to-day. So I'd say the implementation of any product or service is difficult for them because it requires a different mindset. And I think that a lot of times, really what you have to go back is you have to kind of broad strokes. What is the goal? What's the intent? And so whether it's Pestshare as a product or service, or renter's insurance, or implementing via RBP or OBP, a lot of it has to come down to what is your vision for your company. And I think that when you start to break it down from that vision-based thinking, then you're able to start identifying ultimately what the business needs to be able to attain that vision. And so I think the implementation side of it kind of is within the breakdown. And once you break down and identify those bottlenecks, those workflows, then you're able to start implementing new products to be able to help build in certain efficiencies within your company, again, to be able to attain that more fluid vision that kind of seems out there. So that's kind of ultimately, like, when it comes to the implementation, it really stems from that, and it works all the way through your organization. I think that's kind of one of the big things that people need to really think about. First of all, it's not necessarily diving in super deep into the core of what is day to day. First, I think people need to step back and then start to analyze where exactly do we want to go from here with our company, and then identify the products and services that are going to be able to get them there. So
we've identified 3 standing orders at RentWorks. And so I've talked about this on the show before. My team gets sick of me talking about it. And the first standing order, like a general order, like in the military, is 1, provide exceptional service.
Right.
Okay, that's our first standing order. Provide exceptional service. And we wordsmith the heck out of that to come up with those 3 words that really stand for a lot of what we believe in at RentWorks. And that providing exceptional service to tenants and owners go both ways. 2 is getting the business. Does this particular system of Pestshare and the other things around it, does it help you get the business? I believe it does, because you're offering the owners a very good value-based solution. And then 3, keep the business. Does this help you keep business from tenants and owners because they get something that they're not getting anywhere else,
right,
such as a very good quality resident benefits package with a good experience of having on-demand Pestshare treatments that they can appreciate. And in South Texas, man, we got a few bugs, right? We got a few bugs that might crawl up your leg and freak you out. So, having those in line. Yeah, no doubt. And so it fits right into that implementation model. So if you're checking any service, anything out there, it fits right into those 3 elements of what we feel are important to us in our business. And that should be important to anybody in any management business or any business, is those 3 standing orders. And this fits right into it. So one of the things we want to talk about too is we want to discuss like anything new that's going on, because we did a podcast on a year and a half ago, and things have changed. You guys have continually refining your service. Are you opening up more markets?
Right.
Kind of tell us what's new.
Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah, we've been doing a lot of exciting things. Our team has been nonstop, just go, and we've been building and creating and innovating, and there's been so many new improvements. One of the things, actually, I would say, just to kind of pull back some of the curtain as well, is, I want to kind of step back and preface this a little bit too with the ideology kind of that we come from. As far as being able to kind of create this service or Pestshare in general. And so One of which is the concept of efficiencies, and we all know that pest control as a service is within the service itself. So there's kind of a dichotomy of people, the way that you look at us, and sometimes people will look at us as a service related in the service industry product, and then many others look us at a innovative tech solution and a tech company, where we ultimately are providing kind of the marriage of both, and that kind of comes into kind of that ideology of efficiency, and it really then starts to kind of boil down into the property management company as a whole in what is that benefit that they're ultimately getting. And it comes back to your points there of being able to kind of create value for you as an owner, for the stakeholders, for your team, for your investors, so on and so forth. And I think that one of the core things that I generally see in most owner operators, I would say, is that they kind of break down two simple things. They look at efficiency as either temporal efficiency or they look at economic efficiency. And we're pretty well versed a lot of times in the temporal efficiency, which generally is the case of, I'm going to utilize a technology to make something that I do faster. Well, when it comes down to it, in operating a company and growing your company, again, very vision-based, but you start having to look at or shift your mindset more towards economic efficiency. And one of the prime examples of that is simply the division of labor. In order for you as a stakeholder to set that path for your vision to be achieved, other people that are involved within your company are able to do those tasks. Let's say it's leasing, or let's say it's inspections, what have you. But there are many different ways that you can break down and your company as far as the operational flow, so that you as a stakeholder are able to now get more into economic efficiency instead of staying into more of this idea of temporal efficiency, where you never really get out of having to work in the business and can work on the business. So that's kind of one of the big things that we really have been focusing on as our marriage with the tech world, is that we are creating a platform ultimately where residents now are able to utilize the technology to request service, like you mentioned, on demand. And that ultimately equates to more economic efficiency, where then the most manual process within a property management company is maintenance. In many cases, you have to have somebody go out there, physically take care of the service, and that's oftentimes the most complicated and expensive parts of the company. So if we are then able to take a service-related expense and turn it into an economic efficiency for your company, not only are we able to help you stay out of the inner day-to-day, but we can also allow for the benefit of the residents being able to ultimately take part in that set efficiency when requesting professional services. So that's kind of one of the big things that we really are constantly working on is upgrading and building and developing the technology to be able to support the resident or the owner in that request of service, and it being lightning fast.
Resident Interface is a comprehensive delinquency management solution for property management companies that serve rental properties with over 500 units located in Florida, Georgia, Maryland, and Texas. Resident Interface offers property owners and managers a financially transformative end-to-end delinquency management experience. We're a single contact responsible for the entire process, from late payment to eviction management and final debt collection. And we help increase net operating income through technological innovation, operational transparency, and respectful recovery procedures. Learn more today at residentinterface.com.
So we hear a lot of talk too about the resident experience. Now that's very squishy in my opinion, as far as trying to improve the resident experience as a way to retain business or get renewals. I mean, the tenants are going to renew if they want to renew or not.
Right.
But I do believe in absolutely giving them an option and having great services like a Pestshare. So we infuse it into our tenants, but at the end of the day, there's 99 out of 100. They're going to move if they need to move. If they get deployed or they got to move another market, they're moving.
Right.
And so that's beside the point. But it does hone into the conversation of improving that resident experience. I mean, it is real, but only with a little bit of weird squishiness to it. I mean, it's hard to. You talk to a lot of managers and they're like, they don't believe in some of that.
Yeah.
But what I want to do now is I want to take you down the road of telling us more about the service levels, and so what kind of Pestshare options do they have, and give me the tough discussion on pricing. I know it's going to be it depends, but kind of talk us through that, because the big question people are going to ask next, listening to this, is okay, what do they do in this quarterly magic ball, crystal ball thing they do, and how much does it cost, right? So talk us through some of that.
Now, this is actually great, because one of our newest updates or improvements is some flexible pricing, I guess, if you will. Now, the packages ultimately, I guess, are probably more of the flexibility, and what that comes down to is within the product itself, there are certain coverages, and so let's say, within Pest Assurance Basic or Pest Assurance PM, Pest Assurance Pro, ultimately those three types of packages ultimately include different types of pest coverages. And so, let's say on a very basic level, bed bugs and roaches are a big hitter. Let's say on the other scale, mice and rats. And they hit a very different pain point. A lot of times, you have costs that are associated with owners and costs that are associated with residents. And so how do you provide coverage that benefits both parties, as the resident and the owner who's kind of mitigating those risks? And what we ultimately have devised is one of the new improvements is we used to have it was kind of pre-prescribed packages, and they had, let's say our basic was $5 plan. That included a handful of pests, weevils, fleas, ticks, bed bugs, weevils or other, very kind of fluff, if you will. But what that ultimately is that's a way that's a $5 plan to kind of have probably more of your lower class properties where they're going to have more of those issues. As you start to upgrade into more of what our value packages tend to be, which is our Pest Assurance PM, we now are starting to prescribe the flexible coverages based off of regions. And so in many cases, a lot of times if a property manager has a kind of a scattered site, portfolio, where they're in one market or another market, let's say they're in the upper Northwest and some are around the Sun Belt or whatnot, or for your case down in Texas, and then somebody has a portfolio in Arizona, they're going to be very different types of pests that need to be taken care of, based off of the residents' needs. So now ultimately what we have the ability to do is by region or by market, we're able to prescribe a certain package that has inclusions at a same price ultimately. And so we can give, let's say an $8 package that has this inclusion, or a $15 package that has these inclusions in it. And so that's kind of where the depends comes from. But ultimately you're able to tailor your packages in a way that it fits your market regions. So that's kind of one of the benefits, or one of the new things that we've been developing over the last several months. So,
and that's a fair answer, because it is going to depend on the region. Like, you don't have to worry about rattlesnakes in northern Alaska. You know what I mean? Right. So it's going to be different in every place, and it makes sense to me, because from what I remember in sign up, this was a while ago, we actually got to choose kind of the things that we wanted to check on, and it's some of the things you're not really going to have to worry about. Some are a very big thing you got to worry about. It really depends on your region, but also your advisors would advise us and talk to us. In your region, you probably want 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and you probably don't need 4, 5, 6, and 7. And so you'll advise us on that to help us pick the right package. And to be clear, too, that the numbers you're throwing out, that's a monthly expense to the management company.
Right.
And let me say it again, gang. That's a monthly expense to the management company. It doesn't mean that's what you charge the tenant. If you're being charged $5 a month, I would recommend you charge $10 a month to the tenant and bake it into that resident benefits package. That's going to help you justify getting a little bit more in that RBP than what you might think you get. I mean, you see this a lot, JC, where people talk about doing a resident benefits package, and they're like, "Oh my God, I can't get away with an $8 or $9 charge per month to these tenants.
Right.
They'll lynch me." And their competitors to their right, a mile down the road, they're charging 2 figures on an RBP, and it's a pretty significant 2 figures, and the tenants are happily paying it because they've justified that expense. That whole expense, the fee with value trade-off. Well, when you give them a list of 8, 10, 12 things they're getting from that resident benefits package, it's hard not to say yes. I'm like, I get it. That's a pretty good value add. And keep building to it. Don't be satisfied with what you got. Keep building to it. And this is one way to do that, is the Pestshare model. Now, we talked about this in the green room a little bit, but you may have some big things coming up with some big providers. I don't know if you're at liberty to say, or what are you thinking?
Yeah, I'll go as deep as I can. We've been, again, in the spirit of innovation and continually, moving forward and creating better product for everyone. We've obviously been in communication. We collaborate a lot, with Second Nature. Ultimately, they're a big player in providing the experience level that really they see. And I would say that our visions really do align in that regard. And I'd say that, in their triple win experience ultimately is something that we've always subscribed to when it comes to just our business philosophy, is making sure that there's mutuality struck within the relationship between us and the residents, the property manager, their owners. Everybody has to feel, that value. And ultimately, that's kind of one of the beauties of our collaboration that have been very surface level, but we have definitely been in communication with Second Nature. They've been a huge help in adopting us into the industry as kind of the stepchild of the industry. But we've been very welcomed and pleased to continue to progress moving forward with them. To what extent, I can't say yet, but ultimately there's a lot of good things in the works there. Lots of exciting things to come, I guess I could say there.
Yeah, no, what that does is that gets you a bit more national exposure. And I don't know any of the terms. I'm not, I don't know any of those details. I just know you guys were in discussion with them. I think that's really cool because that's going to help take this to the masses a bit easier in implementation, because a lot of the folks that have used or are still using that with Second Nature, they've probably heard of you at this point, right? But the implementation is another thing, right? It's one more thing to add in that they may not be comfortable with. So you might have 100 people, you might have 1 out of 10, 1 out of 50 people that want to actually take the effort, make the effort to do the implementation mindset that we spent 20 minutes talking about, to go the extra level and implement your program on top of an already implemented resident benefits package or owner maintenance service plan or whatever you want to call it. Versus you guys, if you get infused into that, it's going to be an easy, again, using their term, win-win for that particular management company and also the tenants that are involved in it.
Yeah, and that's why we've invested so heavily into our technology, is to be able to enable that service component and really drive that win-win for everybody. So when it comes down to it, again, knowing the complexities and an expense that comes within the services, we ultimately are able to, with RBPs and OBPs, we're able to turn a very expensive part of the maintenance into a revenue generation. And it's an ancillary income source where ultimately the property manager, again, benefits from the ability for them to bolster up and make their operation more robust, so that, come market downturns or come, good times or bad times, they don't necessarily need to sweat it. They ultimately have the ability baked in already with Pestshare to provide them ancillary income, that's through their portfolio. So
one thing we should talk about too, to be real clear about the service, is, okay, so you have a quarterly on-demand pest treatment They can go to a tenant's home. They can treat for the standard pests that the package provides. But there's also, I believe, discounts and other things that go on. So if you do have any sort of infestation, if you got a inspection you have to do, I mean, you talk to me about the other services outside of that once a quarter on demand deal.
Yeah, this is actually going to lead somewhat into some of the new things that we've been developing as well within our technology. But the when it comes to pest control specifically, there's a number of, it's a wide range of requests that come through. And a lot of times they will, they vary in severity, and they also vary by pest type, but they also vary whether they're indoor or outdoor. And a lot of times when you have regular recurring, let's say, multifamily is a very real case here, where quarterly pest control is a normal service that comes through. What often gets missed is the interior, and a lot of times the residents are mostly concerned with that interior because it starts to encroach in their living space. So these living quarters encroachments, if you will, don't tend to get resolved, because a lot of times where it becomes the resident's issue, the being able to pay for an expensive service professionally managed is difficult. And so a lot of times that's kind of one of the pain points that we solve, is being able to execute service, and we give the power back to the resident, where they have the ability to now on demand, when the issue arises, go right to us and circumvent the work order request and the facilitation, and it comes right through Pestshare. So again, it alleviates the property manager from having to manage and deal with that burdensome side of the maintenance, and we can ultimately provide them with our technology the ability to make that resident experience not only better, but resolve those issues, so that they then don't start getting built up and transferred to now becoming a property manager cost or an owner cost, when, like you mentioned before, they leave for whatever circumstances, and you find a pest related issue out there, there's roaches in there. Who gets stuck with that? Generally the PM or the owner, because it's going to be difficult to get that from the now moved on resident ultimately. So yeah.
One of the things I wanted to find out from you, this is just for us too at RentWorks, I mean, are there certain ways that we should be using the service that we're not now? Meaning, should we be doing some sort of annual treatment or some sort of I don't know. I mean, inspection on an annual, biannual basis. I mean, any thoughts there?
In most cases, a lot of times the pest issues that arise are seasonal, and those seasonalities kind of bring into which pests are going to arise and how severe are they, and a lot of times they'll come and go. So when it comes down to requesting a service, that request a lot of times will be for the major instance, the infestation based situation. So a lot of times when it comes into the quarterly maintenance of it, it's really not necessary unless you're in a known very heavily infested area. And so when it comes to annual inspections or regular quarterly treatments, a lot of times you can, and again, this kind of comes into the beauty of it, is that if you're allowing your residents to be that inspection, if you're allowing the residents to be your eyes and ears rather than having to pay somebody to come out to annually do those inspections, now the residents are ultimately kind of built in to the system that we've created, essentially, that you've created as a property manager. So they're the ones that are doing your inspections. They're the ones that are ultimately requesting these services, and you don't have to worry about them building to a major infestation level, because they're going to be on top of it, knowing that it's already covered for them.
Nice. So, okay, one off-topic question. What are the big things you guys got working on? Like, what are some of the cool things that you may or may not be able to talk about? Maybe you can hint on it.
Absolutely.
I'm curious about what new stuff you got coming out.
Yeah, we're super excited. We've been, like I mentioned before, we invested heavily into our technology and continue to do so. It's kind of the way of being able to make that as easily and affordable to residents and property managers alike. But one of the things that we've really worked on within our tech stack is our pest identifications, the workflow that it comes into the request, being able to have, picture, video uploads, things like this that will ultimately not only get the identification more concrete, more precise, but also it becomes more efficient. So what that in turn does is that allows us to be able to save the time between residents having to make that request. They can go through that process ultimately and get a very clear, concise, knowing exactly what the issue is, and then how it's resolved. And whether that falls under the coverage or not, we are able to give them resources to be able to take care of those issues, whether that falls within our vendor program or not. But I think that's one of the beauty things is we're using AI and the other kind of base layer tech stacks that we've been building to really kind of fuse together the ultimate experience and request flow. So,
love it. So, how do we reach you to find out more? What's the best way to reach you guys?
Well, we're at these conferences often, and so stop on by our booth. We're always readily available. But go to pestshare.com and /book. So if you go to pestshare.com or pestshare.com/book, that'll get you connected with scheduling a demo right there, and we can kind of take you through that user experience, both on your side as the property manager and on the resident side, to give them a look as well.
Cool. Thanks, JC. Appreciate you coming on. Go to pestshare.com to learn more about your service, and really do believe in what you guys are doing. Keep up the good work.
As a property manager, it's important for your business and your bottom line to work with the right insurance partner. But getting the right coverage for all parties involved isn't always easy. That's where Steadily.com comes in. Steadily is the industry leader in landlord insurance, offering fast, affordable coverage online in just a few clicks. Steadily works with property managers nationwide to insure their portfolios of managed properties and provides guaranteed listing as additional insured with easy online visibility into property insurance coverages. With top-of-market referral fees, Steadily also helps you drive extra revenue per door while bringing tremendous value to your clients. That's why property managers nationwide rate Steadily 4.8 out of 5 stars. Find out how Steadily can save you time and help you earn extra revenue. To get started, visit steadily.com/partners/PMM or email us at partners@steadily.com and mention that you heard us on the PMM podcast.
This has been a podcast episode by PropertyManagementProductions.com. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast, leave us feedback, and come back for our next episode.